Destiny Gilliam here from the Creative Reading Coach, and I am back for our 30-day video challenge. So inspired by yesterday's video, but as I did it, I said, guess what? It doesn't need to stop here. We need to be able to talk about what it really means to read, okay? So as I thought about that, I was like, they probably have questions about what to do if their baby can't read. So what I did, I came up with some little notes. Y'all know I like to keep my notes right here of where do you get started, okay? So right now, we know that there are two types of reader. Well, that's four. We know there are two types of readers, okay? And if you've experienced these type of readers, you're going to say, yep, that makes sense. Reader number one, they have the best fluency. They get the words out. They even sound amazing. They're tricksters because when you ask them what they've read, they go, I don't know. No idea, right? Then you have that other reader where it's like they're stumbling to get those words out. They may even say, Mom, what's this word right here? Mom, why did they say that? Right? And then you ask them what they've read and they still say, I don't know, okay? The key difference between those types of reader is one reader has somehow, one way or another, been able to decode effortlessly, or they've been able to memorize the words. However, they're lacking in some key comprehension and vocabulary strategies. The other reader, on the other hand, they have not been so successful at decoding words. They have not been so successful at fluency, and we know those two are directly related. So they have a really, really hard time with comprehension, perhaps even vocabulary. Now, what I tell people is that sometimes those readers who struggle with phonics, it's not necessarily that comprehension is the issue, because if you read it to them, they'll be able to tell you exactly what happened. But if they're responsible for reading it by themselves, then guess what? That's where you see those problems arise, okay? So what I want to do, I want to kind of take you on the back end of what it means to truly read and comprehend something, okay? Comprehension is the byproduct of 6 things. Most people think, oh, they're reading, so that means they understand. When I was in a classroom, a teacher, and I used to always joke because they would say that we would say that they would come into the parent-teacher conference and say, my baby read this at home, so I know they can read. And we're like, well, not so much. And the reason being is that reading is simply getting the words out. Comprehending is being able to understand it and spit it back out. And that's what we want, okay? So in order for that to happen, there's a layered process that must occur. I'm not saying that all these things happen. Well, no, I am saying that. These things must happen at the same time, and they must be fluid with one another, okay? So let's go ahead and dive right in and tell you what those 6 key things you're looking for. And I'm going to go in from the lowest level to the highest level, and we know that highest level is comprehension, okay? First thing that must happen, they must have print awareness, okay? And print awareness, that usually occurs at the toddlers, I'm not even gonna say toddler stage, at the pre-K stage, okay? And what that means is they're able to open a book, they're able to look at the sentence and go left from right. They're able to know when this word is a word, this word is a word, this word is a word, okay? They're not looking at that sentence, and if I say sit down, they're not saying that this whole word is sit down, okay? They're able to look at the title of the book. They're able to know what an author is. They're able to know how to turn the pages. So they're able to just really interact with that book, okay? That's why it's so important for moms of pre-K babies and our early readers to go ahead and read aloud to them, because those are things that you can naturally do at home, and it doesn't require any type of lesson. It's just sitting and having a true conversation about a book. Our struggling readers, they don't have issues with that, okay? They don't have issues with that. They can look at the book and say the title, author, left or right, word for word, okay? That's good stuff, all right? The second thing is, it is this process called phonological awareness. Phonological awareness. What phonological awareness is, it is basically how a child is able to hear and receive sounds. Think about the word phone. When you pick up the phone, you are hearing something. So for example, if I say, and there's a process to that, for time's sake, I have to do a totally separate video for that, but for time's sake, phonological awareness is how they process. So think about rhyming words. Think about at the lowest level is word by word for sentences. It's manipulation of sounds. If I say I have the word bat, but I want to switch it to cat, all right, what sound would I need to change? And they should need to be able to say that B needs to go to that C. The key is they should be able to do it without writing the letters down, okay? So it's how they hear sounds, all right? Now, that's where a lot of our struggling readers get stuck, okay? The reason being is number one, daycares don't really teach that anymore. And I'm saying that as a mom who has little bitty babies, all right? Everything's kind of based on play. So that's one reason. Another reason is schools don't really teach that a lot anymore either. All right. So what happens is our kids come in primed and ready to get ready to read, and we start teaching them everything else but what they need to know, which is phonological awareness. It's important because it gets their brain ready for phonics. How do you expect them to spell a word and they can't even tell you how to manipulate a word? All right. So step number 2 is phonological awareness, which takes us to step number 3. It is phonics, all right? And we know phonics is similar to phonological awareness, but it is taking that letter and that sound and putting it together with a grapheme, which is basically a letter. They're able to write it. So I say the sound is k. What are 3 ways I can make the k sound? So they should be able to go C says k, K says k, CK says k, all right? So those are the examples of phonics, being able to relate the grapheme with the actual sound, all right? What are we on, number 3, I think it is? Yeah, we did phonological phonics, we did that. The next one is fluency. And I talked about this in the video before this. Think about it. If they are not able to recognize those sounds and how they relate in words, then they're not going to be able to read it fluently. And fluency, yes, you will hear your child's teacher say, they're reading this amount of words per minute, and we want them to really read this amount of words per minute. That is part of it. However, for me, fluency is best represented. And how does it sound? They can read all those words in a certain amount of time, but does it make sense? Do they change their voice? Do they have the proper inflection? Are they changing the voice to match the character? Are they able to use the correct punctuation? All of that good stuff. 9 times out of 10, if they're not doing those things, it's because they're spending so much time focused on how to get the word out that they don't even have time to process that, okay? If you want more information about that, make sure you check out the video prior to this, all right? The other thing that builds a reader who can comprehend is vocabulary. Now, this is really key, okay? Vocabulary, it's so loaded. It's really good, but it's one of those things that a lot of us overlook. Vocabulary is so important because, number one, you never really master vocabulary. What you do master, you master vocabulary strategies, okay? The reason I say that is because vocabulary is one of those things you can never learn all the words. Even as an adult, you read a book about chemistry, you have to use strategies to figure out those words. You don't just come knowing those words. So a kid who has a problem comprehending, but they can get the words out good and they have great fluency, check vocabulary, check their strategies. What strategies are they using to attack that, okay? And the reason being is because guess what? If they don't have the strategies to figure out those unknown words, then they're just gonna keep on reading and reading and reading and reading and reading, and then they get to something, I don't know. And think about the kid who implements no strategies. They get to the end of the text and they can't tell you what happened, okay? So yeah, really, really, really pay close attention. I might do a video on that, different vocabulary strategies you can use, okay? So that takes me to our last strategy, or our last thing, which is comprehension, okay? All of those 5 things that we just talked about, they build to a reader who can comprehend, Okay, that's why I'm not so big on teaching vocabulary words in isolation. I do it in certain instances, like the families that are enrolled in our current program. We have a vocabulary portion, but that's because it's related to the text. Okay, and those are words that they have to know in order to understand it. Outside of that, you need to teach strategies for them to figure it out, because there'll be a time when you won't be able to say this word means this word means that. All right, so they all have to work together to build a reader who can comprehend. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I'll please in the comments like it or something to let me know that this makes sense. All right, with these skills, they all need to function, and the skills must be fluent amongst all text types. I've met some moms say, oh, I can just teach this and they'll get it. And it's like, mama, no, because you're teaching it or you're showing them how to do these things at a second grade level, but you got to remember your baby's going to be in 8th grade one day, and they're going to need to be able to know how to do all of those things at one time. So it must be fluid. It must be able to go in and out with different text types. Can they do it when they're reading a poem? Do they know comprehension strategies when they read a poem? Can they do it when they're reading an article on the internet? Can they do these same exact things when they're looking up instructions on how to put their PS4 together? I'll just show my age. I don't even know what the new PlayStation is out right now. But can they do those things? Okay, so what I encourage you to do, I encourage you to really stop and take a moment and sit down and listen to your child read. Even grab you a piece of paper and a notebook, and a pen, and go ahead and write down notes. What do you notice that your child is doing as they're reading? I also encourage you, if you want to ask questions, create your questions ahead of time and just kind of get a good gauge of what's happening while they read. Do not interrupt them while they're reading. Do not try to correct them. And most importantly, do not try to yell at them because they don't know. Right now, you're using this time to get some observations going. When you've done that, I challenge you to come back to this video, leave me a comment, and let me know what you see. And then we can just have some good old conversation through the comments about what's going on with your reader. I hope this helped. And I hope that it kind of put things into perspective for you, because guess what? When you go to the parent-teacher conference, they might not break all these specific things down. I will see you in our next video. Have a good one.